Hey, what's up YouTube family? Skeleton with Pressure Power Services. We're out here cleaning Ag Pro today. We're going to be cleaning this building up for them. So one of the things I just got to include with you guys, it's about middle of the day. It's kind of hot out here. So one of the things that I'm doing to begin with is I'm going to go ahead and go around and wet all the metal, all the little metal flashings, all this metal trim that they've got up here at the top. Because every bit of that, if it's hot and you put some bleach on it, you'll flash oxidize it. So you always want to make sure that, especially on this side of the building, because this is the north side, so right now it's getting a good bit of sun. It's getting beat up pretty bad, so it's pretty hot. So go ahead and wet all the windows. Go ahead and wet all that flashing up there, that little cap that they've got. Just try to make sure that we keep everything protected, keep it safe. We don't want to oxidize any of that stuff. Wet all the windows. We don't want anything to spot. If you put bleach on a hot window, it'll dry immediately, and you can leave a lot of really bad bleach spots on it, and they are a pain to get off. So this is one of those contracts that I got because the manager of it actually got one of my business cards from one of the local restaurants, contacted me. I went and cleaned his house, and actually came up here kind of cutting up with him a little bit to see if I could get that review I've been asking him for. And the day that I came in, he was like, you know, I was actually about to call you yesterday and try to get you to come put a bid in for me. So anyways, contacted him, or I came up and I was talking to him. He went ahead and let me put a quote in for it, and here I am like 3 days later cleaning it. So you guys keep going at it, keep working on your network. You know, that's how you get a lot of commercial contracts and stuff like that. It's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know. So, you know, I say that a bunch. Make sure you're getting out there networking, and you know, eventually you'll start getting nice little buildings like this that you can clean up. So hopefully that'll help some of you guys out. Like I said, we always just want to make sure that we're protecting these properties, especially these bigger commercial contracts. You may want to make sure that it's a repeat customer for you. So you get out here, do all your property protection, take everything off that's got bad. Hey, just because I know a lot of you guys are probably going to ask, I'll show you what I'm using to clean with right now. So this is the system I have right now. It is the Pressure Pro 8 gallon per minute, 3,500 psi hot water unit. I'm just running cold water right now. There's no reason for me to run heat on this, but the building isn't that dirty. So you can see I've got my little drop stick. Just gonna drop it right in the bleach. It's for downstreaming. I've got my line running over here where it actually ties into my hose reel. This is a 2.3 downstream injector. So that's all I'm running. This is the 8 gallon per minute. So here's my little orange gun I've got. There's my J-rod. This is, I'll try to go through the tips for you. This is an 0040. So here's an 0040, which I'm using for like a 2-story soap tip. I've got a 15, let's see. Yeah, I've got a 1540, which is really just kind of lets me soap a little bit higher. It lets me soap a little bit higher with a wide fan on it. Then I've got a 1570 and a 2570. So those are really low pressure tips. I like to have those on there just because it's good for really low areas. Like this whole bottom section I'm going to be able to get with most of the 1570 and the 2570. And then having those on there too are really good for anytime you're cleaning like any kind of woodwork. So it's a very soft pressure tip. But this side is already done. I'm just downstream the whole thing. I think it only took me like maybe 10 minutes, but I was just rinsing pretty heavy, and again trying to keep all of the metal flashing, that little metal cap that they've got up there, trying to keep all of that wet just to make sure that I don't flash oxidize anything. Keeping all the windows wet, making sure that they don't spot up at all. But I figured I'd just share that with you guys. I might add a little bit more to the video here in a little bit, but in case anybody's curious, that is my current setup that I'm using for cleaning this commercial job. Could I do it with a 4 gallon per minute? Absolutely. I've cleaned a lot of bigger commercial jobs with 4 gallon per minute. You don't have to have the 8. It just definitely improves your efficiency. But again, you know, you guys don't get focused on the setup so much, you know, what we're using, as much as just the the techniques that we're telling you guys about. You know, I'm not the most technical washer, but I do know some things that will definitely help you guys out. So again, that being one of the main ones. You come out here to these big jobs like this, make sure you keep anything metal, especially if it's in the sun, keep anything metal wet and cooled down. Keep windows wet and cooled down. It'll save you a lot of headache from having to deal with oxidized metal and bleach spots on the windows. So, but that's it. All right, so we finished up the whole job. Whole thing probably took about 3 hours. Really just because it was the building, and then we also did all that flat work down there. We had to go back and do a push treatment on the flat work just to make sure it looked really, really nice when we were done. And then really part of that was just kind of waiting on water to fill up in the tank. So I will say that has been the only downside so far to having the 8 gallon per minute is just keeping up the water. A lot of houses or buildings or whatever, they won't keep up with that 8 gallon per minute. So what you can do in some instances, which it wasn't feasible here, the water spigots were too far apart, but what you can do in some instances at houses is like you can dual feed. So basically just run two garden hoses both to the house to feed the buffer tank. If the flow is kind of slow, you can also unspool the whole garden hose too. That way it just kind of allows more flow to come through. It'll open it up. If it's not like garden hose reel, it'll kind of close the hose a little bit so you get less flow. But did the whole thing, took about 3 hours, and I just wanted to make a note on it, so like whenever I was downstreaming, again, we don't have to get too caught up on technique, you know, it's just kind of whatever works best. But typically the best practice, I guess you would say, would be that you soak bottom to top and then you rinse top to bottom. So just because this was more of like a technical video, I figured I would just throw that in there in case anybody had questions on that. The well time was probably only about 10 minutes tops. Like I said, it wasn't very dirty, but that's just how Ag Pro likes to keep their building. They don't let it get dirty. So that'll be a good repeat customer for me. $1,000 in 3 hours, so not bad. Pretty good day. And again, like I said, you know, don't get caught up on what system you have. You know, could I have done it with the 4 gallon per minute? I absolutely could have, but versus the 3 hours probably would have taken more like 5 or 6 hours with the 4 gallon per minute, but you still could have done it. And the thing is when you get bigger jobs like that, nothing else is scheduled for that day. You know, well, granted, the fact that I did Chick-fil-A that morning after Chick-fil-A, I did whenever to do Ag Pro, but I didn't have anything else that afternoon. So regardless of if it took me 3 hours or 8 hours, I was gonna be there anyways. If you're solo, it doesn't really matter, you know, because your profit margins are gonna be set, you know, especially those of you who, you know, hopefully by now some of you have looked up profit first, like I've been talking to you all about. So your profit margins are pretty much set already. You know what your owner's pay is going to be out of it. You know what your take home is going to be. So yeah, I mean, when you get jobs like that, just take your time. You know, like I said, it doesn't matter if it takes 3 hours, if it takes 10 hours. You're there. There's nothing else going on. Try not to double book on days like that when you've got big jobs. Just get out there, be very thorough, and what I always try to do is, like, I always try to focus on getting the entire building or the house done first, and then what I'll do is once I get done, because sometimes, like, especially if you do have more than one job lined up for the day, the name of the game is to get the job done, but then after that you go back and you do all your little detailing stuff. So always try to make time for that if you can, especially early on when you're not double booked, you don't have other jobs pending that you're about to go to. Take your time. You know, you're making the same amount of money whether, you know, you're there for just a little bit or if you're there all day. So that is all I've got for you guys. I just want to kind of add that on there. I'm sure there's probably other things I could have gone over with this video, but again, I just wanted to kind of elaborate a little bit. You know, that was the system I was using. That was kind of the technique I was using. The downstreaming has been great for me with the 8-gallon prevent, especially on things that, you know, just aren't really that dirty. You can kind of get in, get out. It saves you some of the headache from having to pull that extra soft wash hose and stuff. So definitely speeds things up a lot. But all right, guys, well, that's it. That's all I got for y'all for this video. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, and then hit that bell icon so you get notifications when I'm posting new ones. And yeah, that's it. God bless, man. See y'all.